The city of Owensboro on a typical Tuesday was awash with familiar scenes. The rustling leaves of the cherry blossoms in Smothers Park were gently caressed by the winds from the Ohio River. The distant laughter of children, the murmurs of pedestrian chatter, and the occasional clatter of porcelain from Moonlight Barbecue resonated like an age-old symphony of normalcy. Amid this symphony, a figure of resolve moved, his leather shoes creating soft echoes on the rain-kissed asphalt. Detective Samuel Griffin was a man of many faces. To Owensboro, he was a diligent public servant. To his colleagues, a man of quiet strength. To himself, a maelstrom of haunted reflections and bruised tenacity. In his small, cluttered office at the Owensboro Police Department, he pored over a case file. His age-dusted eyes scrutinized every word, each letter a cryptic breadcrumb leading to a labyrinth of mystery. Yet beneath the focused exterior, a cauldron of memories simmered. "There's something odd about this, Sam," voiced Captain Matthews, leaning against the office doorway. He was a stout man with a walrus-like mustache that moved with every syllable. He held out a new file, the paper still crisp. "Warehouse out on the east side. Folks have been talking about strange noises at night." Sam's brow furrowed. Another case, another echo to ripple his still waters. He took the file from Matthews and began scanning the initial reports. The conversation flowed, tracing the lines of police work and duty. But beneath the humdrum discourse, he felt a tremor of curiosity, an itch he had come to associate with a mystery worth delving into. He agreed to take the case, a new challenge in his tireless quest for truth, a new means of burying his past. That night, in the solitude of his Spartan-like apartment, he ruminated over the new case. The cool Kentucky breeze whispered through the slightly ajar window, carrying with it echoes of barbecues, laughter, and life. His roughened hands held an old photo, a much younger Sam with a radiant smile and twinkling eyes. But the most striking feature was his clean-cut appearance, a stark contrast to the grizzled visage reflected in the mirror. The photo was a talisman, a harsh reminder of the times when addiction had led him to the precipice of self-destruction. The days when booze was a comfort, the nights when pain seemed endless. He had emerged, battered yet undefeated, from those trenches of despair. The path to redemption had been steeped in relentless battles, fought with the demons within and without. As he delved deeper into the night, the city of Owensboro slept on, blissfully unaware of the undercurrents that threatened to change their lives forever. By the time dawn arrived, painting the sky in shades of pastel promise, he had become a vessel of knowledge, ready to navigate the uncharted waters that awaited him in the depths of an abandoned warehouse. The echoes from the past were starting to grow louder, reverberating against the walls of reality. The echoes that would eventually lead him to a truth darker and more unfathomable than any he had ever encountered. A truth that lay dormant, waiting in the unlit corners of an abandoned warehouse. Owensboro welcomed Wednesday with a veiled sun, partially obscured by an ensemble of lazy, drifting clouds. The silent sentinel of a warehouse nestled on the eastern fringes of town was a testament to an era of industry now reduced to a phantom in the city's collective memory. Sam pulled up to the abandoned site, his aging Ford Crown Victoria looking decidedly out of place amidst the surrounding urban decay. The warehouse was a monolith of bricks and rust, a titan scarred by time and neglect. It loomed ominously over the detective, casting a long, foreboding shadow that seemed to choke the surrounding landscape. As he stepped out, a chilling wind picked up, rustling the nearby weeds and whispering tales of secrets locked away within the warehouse's dilapidated walls. A fleeting shiver raced down his spine, an intuitive signal from his weathered instincts, but he shrugged it off and ventured towards the entrance. The warehouse's interior was an echoing symphony of silence. His flashlight cut through the darkness, casting wavering shapes that danced along with the dust suspended in the stagnant air. A sudden whisper of movement, a scurrying rat perhaps, startled him. It was as though the darkness pulsed with life, each shadow a cryptic suggestion of the mysteries that lay within. He found the first anomaly in a corner, an unusual marking that resembled no graffiti he'd ever seen. It was a complex symbol, sharp, angular lines intersecting in a dizzying display of abstract art. The longer he stared, the more entrancing it became. The edges seemed to shift and swirl, as if they were alive. He shook his head to break the spell, rubbing his temples as a sudden headache spiked. Later, as he interviewed the locals, he noticed a recurrent thread in their stories. Hank, the town's eccentric recluse, spoke of lights that weren't quite right, floating around the warehouse, while Mrs. Maple recounted the strange alien-like murmurs she had heard on her evening walks. Almost as if they were speaking in tongues, she added, her frail hands trembling slightly as she clutched her shawl tighter around her. The narratives were woven together by an undercurrent of fear, their eyes filled with a mix of unease and denial. The last man Sam talked to, a grizzled farmer named Earl, spoke of whispers in the wind and hushed meetings of a group of locals that had taken a shine to the old place. Nightfall found him back at his office, nursing a cup of strong black coffee, his mind a whirlpool of thoughts. The symbol from the warehouse now adorned his notebook, its form haunting in its inexplicability. A realization began to crystallize in his mind, the shape of a cult lurking in the fringes of his investigation. He felt a shiver of anticipation. This was no ordinary case. He was stepping into the realm of the unknown, the unexplainable. But as the shadows lengthened and the clock hands crawled towards midnight, he had no idea of the depths of madness into which he was about to plunge. He was on the precipice of a chilling abyss, teetering unknowingly between the known world and the alien terror that lurked in the belly of the beast. The abandoned warehouse. The cloak of night draped itself over Owensboro, casting a spectral gloom upon the city. Sam, dressed in shadows, made his way to the silent sentinel on the city's edge, the warehouse. A clandestine congregation of flickering candlelight and hushed whispers drew him into its monstrous belly. In the bowels of the warehouse, a grotesque scene unfurled. Shadows danced on the aged brick walls, painting pictures of forbidden rituals. Men and women draped in sanguine robes swayed to a silent rhythm, their chanting echoing ominously in the vast space. Among the grotesque panorama, he observed a raised dais where a man, adorned with an ornate mask, held a chalice aloft. The congregation bowed in reverence, their fervent whispers melding into a chilling hymn of worship. A sudden movement caught his eye. A figure was brought forth, their frame shrouded in robes. The chalice was lowered, its contents offered to the devotee. A trembling hand reached out to accept the dark sacrament, a ritual cannibalism that seeped into the very fabric of reality. His heart pounded a brutal rhythm against his ribs, every beat echoing the screams of his internal struggle. The ghosts of his past surfaced, mingling with the horror unfolding before his eyes. The taste of whiskey on his tongue, the guttural, animalistic need for another drink, the terrifying descent into a hell of his own making, they all mirrored the dreadful transformation of the people before him. The ritual continued, undulating in a mesmerizingly horrific rhythm. He watched the congregation, their eyes ablaze with a dreadful hunger, a monstrous need to consume and be consumed, just as he had once craved the numbing embrace of alcohol. It was as if his past addiction and the present horror had merged into one monstrous entity, gnawing at the edges of his sanity. The chant crescendoed, reaching a feverish pitch that seemed to reverberate in the marrow of his bones. And then, silence. A silence so complete, it swallowed every rustle, every breath, every beat of his pounding heart. Suddenly, a searing pain bloomed at the back of his skull, forcing a cry from his lips. He fell, the world around him blurring into a haze of color and light. Staggering, he turned to see the congregation, their faces twisted in fury and alarm. The masked man on the dais pointed, and they rushed towards him. His legs acted on instinct, propelling him into a desperate sprint for survival. As he breached the door of the warehouse, the ominous chanting filled the night once more, echoing his accelerating heartbeat. As the distance between him and the warehouse grew, so did the dread within him. A seed of horror had taken root in his mind, and it threatened to consume him. He had peered into the abyss, and the abyss had stared back, searing its horrifying secret into his soul. His past, present, and future were now intertwined in a macabre dance with an entity far beyond his comprehension. The world as he knew it had begun to crumble, and in its place a nightmarish reality was looming. The starless night engulfed Owensboro, the moon hidden behind an opaque curtain of ominous clouds. Sam hurtled through the labyrinthine streets, his heart hammering in sync with the pursuit at his heels. His mind was a cyclone, the line between reality and nightmare blurred. He had seen the abyss, tasted the echoes of an ancient hunger, and felt the cosmic entity's whisper curl around his sanity. His past, resurfacing in grotesque alignment with the horrific present, clawed at the fabric of his being, testing his resolve. The town, once familiar, had transformed into a surreal dreamscape. The very air seemed to throb with an unseen menace, the wind carrying the chilling hymn of the cult, their devotion seeping into the veins of the city. Owensboro's heart pulsated in tandem with his own, both holding on to normalcy by the thinnest of threads. His breath came in ragged gasps, the cold air stinging his lungs. His body ached, screams of protest echoing from every muscle, each sinew. Yet he persevered, fueled by the terror that his pursuers might catch up, the fear that he might lose himself to the entity's influence. And then they came, the voices. Like whispers on the wind, they crept into his mind, the entity making its presence known. They showed him fragments of cosmic vistas, a reality far removed from his own. He saw beings beyond comprehension, heard languages that twisted his thoughts, and felt emotions that gnawed at his sanity. Each footfall echoed through the deserted streets, amplifying the symphony of his flight. Buildings passed in a blur, their once comforting familiarity twisted into grotesque specters by his terror. Just when his legs threatened to buckle, he found his salvation, the police station. Bathed in the stark, artificial glow of its neon sign, it stood as a beacon of reality amidst the encroaching madness. With a final surge of energy, he sprinted through the entrance, slamming the door shut behind him. Panting, he slumped against the cool metal of the door, relief washing over him in a tidal wave. He was safe, but the echoes of the cult's chant still reverberated in his ears. The entity's whispers still lingered in the corners of his mind. In the silence of the station, he realized the horrifying truth. His escape was only physical. The entity had seeped into his psyche, entangling itself in his past, present, and future. The abyss had imprinted itself onto him, leaving a haunting resonance that would forever linger in his soul. The dawn broke over Owensboro, a new day commencing, oblivious to the nocturnal terror that had unfolded. Sam Griffin, the resilient, loyal, and brave detective, had survived the night, his physical form intact, but he had been irrevocably changed. He was now a vessel, a bridge between realities, between the mundane and the cosmic. He would forever carry the entity within, its whispers a chilling reminder of the night he plunged into the abyss and emerged, forever scarred by the echoes from the depths of cosmic horror. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it and subscribe to our channel, where you can find more similar stories, and click on the bell icon to never miss one. There is plenty more cosmic horror to come from the Eldritch Tales Factory. Stay tuned, and until next time.